Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month, we are defending Star Wars. We are putting the worst of Star Wars on trial, and we have brought people to defend their opinions, because their opinions are wrong. And we are starting with...
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, traditionally the one that was the most hated until Disney took over.
Yeah, it happens.
And we brought one of the greatest lawyers in the galaxy to defend it. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Matthew here. I love The Phantom Menace, and it's a perfect movie, and there's nothing wrong with it. You're wrong, sir.
That's
it. End it.
That's that is a strong defense. That is better than OJ with the glove right there.
Don't fit. It don't fit.
The midichlorians do not fit. You must acquit.
Exactly.
But yes, that is the premise for the entire month of May. We are picking out Star Wars movies and asking people to defend their controversial opinions on Star Wars, I guess, because the mainstream, I think we could agree, The Phantom Menace is a bad movie according to most people, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. The cultural consensus is it's like a clunky script with like not great performances. The humor from hashtag Jar Jar Binks doesn't land, and that it demystifies the universe, right? It explains too much, the midichlorian problem, all that stuff. That's why people dislike this movie, but you're saying that even besides that, or because of that, it is a great work of art.
Well,
it
yeah,
is
of
cinema.
course. Kino.
As
the Randy with it is.
See?
Kino.
Well, Matt, I want to know, The Phantom Menace. Why are you so connected to this Star Wars? Is this your favorite Star Wars?
No, it's not my favorite one, but I would put it in my top 3 Star Wars movies.
Really?
Probably it's second or third. Like, I'm always bouncing between either Empire Strikes Back or Phantom Menace as being my second. Like, it's always those two going back and forth.
The look on Dean's face right now is
your-
priceless.
What's your number one?
My number 1 is Revenge.
Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite one.
You are an anomaly, my friend.
I mean, I'm defending Phantom Menace. Like,
I suppose.
I'd have to be.
Okay, you can love Phantom Menace, but you know that it got shit on for like 15 years,
you
forever.
Know what? That's what's the funny thing about that? I wasn't aware that Phantom Menace was, quote, bad movie until I was maybe in my mid-20s.
What?
Yeah, like no one.
You
like,
never watched a YouTube video about Phantom Menace?
No, I didn't need to. I would just rewatch Phantom Menace and be like, man, this movie's great. I really like this movie.
He kept a poster of Jake Lloyd on the back of his door. He was just like, my boy.
My boy.
I can't.
I'm sure I did have a poster.
Did you?
I mean, I can't talk shit. I had the Jake Lloyd Anakin Skywalker poster from this.
Yeah, it was like the shadow with the silhouette of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Exactly, that was the one.
I had that poster. It was a good poster.
You know what? That's something we should probably start with, is going into Phantom Menace, the hype that led into the Phantom fucking Menace, because we all saw this in theaters,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, when I was like 5.
Yeah,
the
basically.
oldest I could have been.
I think that was the same for me, but this is like the first movie I remember seeing in a movie theater, and seeing this in a movie theater was fucking different.
It was
wild.
It's like 5 years old. Like, yeah, I was hyped. I remember.
I thought you were gonna say you were high. You were like, I was turned on the blue milk.
Hey, I was 5.
It was a rough day at work.
I don't remember much. Like, I tried to think. Like, as I was watching it this morning, because I watched it this morning just to have as fresh eyes as I can before recording this. And I was just like, man, I don't remember who I saw this movie with. That's how long ago it was, and that's how I guess like how like focused I was on the movie. Like, I don't remember who I went with. I don't remember if it was with my dad or with my mom. It was one of them. But
I would hope so, unless the really touchy uncle took you. I don't know.
Where was I lost my train of thought, but like I really liked it. Like, it was super good. Like, I was so into it. Like, all of the people I grew up with were like really into it. Like, it was just more Star Wars, because I did see the original trilogy prior to watching the prequels. Like, my dad was really into them. Even my mom was really into them. I remember they had the DVD collection, like the gold. It came in like the gold box with like
yeah.
Darth Vader's helmet on it.
Mhm.
It's like we would watch that like every weekend. It was so good. We all loved Star Wars. So like going into the Phantom Menace, like I can only imagine what other people were thinking that had the original trilogy for like their entire lives.
Where the original trilogy was all of Star Wars.
Yeah, it was all of Star Wars, I guess, unless you count like, or I don't know, a lot of people don't read like
the expanded universe.
Mm-hmm. I'm not. Well, maybe they do. I didn't. I still don't.
You were 5.
Like I was 5. Like this is all I had.
You're like green eggs and ham was a challenge.
Green eggs and ham. Like, what would we defend that? Dr. Seuss books.
We will come back and we will defend Cat in the Hat as the greatest of book adaptations.
Obviously, Go Dog Go is one of the best Dr. Seuss books.
Jesus.
Red fish, blue fish.
You know there has to be a podcast where they just go through every Dr. Seuss books and they're just like, why is this the greatest work of literature in the English language?
It's
like,
the same podcast that says that about every book.
Why does Are You My Mother bring me to tears every time?
Oh my god.
Wait, which one's that one?
It's the sad little one with the bird where he's trying to find his mother.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like goes to like every animal in the animal kingdom asking, "Are you my mom?" Because when he hatched out of his egg, his mom wasn't there. So
Matt's getting teary-eyed right now.
It was a really, like, I read it a lot as a kid for some reason.
Matt's not alone. I did this to myself.
Matt's got to compose
I
himself.
love my mom so much.
Okay.
Phantom Menace,
but because I'll say this, because
just like Anakin loves Shmi.
Oh god, terrible name, but besides the point. Shmi. That it just makes me think of Hook. But I'm waiting for Bob Hoskins to or for her to pull her face off and it's Bob Hoskins.
Stop.
But okay, here's the thing. Phantom Menace, I'm in the same boat as you. You know, my parents, huge into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. They saw them when they came out in the theater back in the 70s. Yep. Watched all of them, going up to Phantom Menace. My dad was like, my son, I'm only going to take you to 5 movies in your life, and 3 of them will be the prequels.
Yes,
all right?
they will.
One of them will be Treasure Planet after this, and I will have that in my heart forever. But he was like, I'm going to take you to 3 movies, and they're going to be pretty mediocre, but you're going to fucking love them. Because I'm in the same boat. When I saw Phantom Menace as a child, it was the coolest shit ever put to screen that I had ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
I was still 5 or 6
it's like
or
the
whatever.
First live action movie you ever saw,
I
probably.
think fucking probably. The movie theater, absolutely. But I just remember, we're in the theater. It's packed to the fucking gills.
The lights go down.
It gets quiet.
It gets real quiet. The previews come up for other movies. Everyone's booing. And then it hits. And you see the Star Wars. The Star Wars scroll starts. I remember it hits Star Wars and it fucking goes off. Like Queen just walked out on Wembley Stadium and it's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's been like that. Remember when I went to go watch A New Hope, or not A New Hope? Oh my god.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, Force Awakens.
I didn't know you were that old.
No,
you were a time traveler.
Not that old. But yeah, when I went to go watch Force Awakens, that was the vibe, that was the energy going into that movie. It was like Star Wars comes on screen and everybody, the theater exploded. It was amazing, the energy in the air.
But Boo, do you remember when you first saw The Phantom Menace?
Oh, absolutely. Saw it in the theater, I think opening weekend. My mom and my grandma took me, and it was just, I don't know. I wanted to cry when the opening crawl came up because I grew up with Star Wars, watching the original trilogy. Yeah, it was just special being able to see it with my mom and my grandma. My grandma passed out mid-movie. And then I was...
Was it the same part I did right after the pod race? She's like, oh, no, mija, I'm okay. This is okay movie. I'll go sleep now.
No,
It's the end, right?
Surprisingly, it was during the Senate meeting.
Oh, yeah. That's the thrill ride roller coaster that is space politics, yes.
And then I was like, why is she asleep? This is Star Wars. And then, I became an adult and I'm like, oh, God, this is so boring. I can see why Grandma knocked out.
At least it wasn't that long. I think it's only 15 minutes tops?
It's an unbroken 15.
Yeah, they had to do it.
We have E.T. cameos.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, because I'm in the boat of when I was a kid, coolest thing ever made. This was peak cinema. And as I got older, and every time I would go back to do the the Star Wars marathon because I'm a completionist. I'm gonna watch all of them, episode 1 to Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
And every time I would go back and watch it, the glow of joy from Phantom Menace just got a little dimmer. And watching it now, because I think the last time I watched Phantom Menace, I was in high school the last time I think I watched this. Or no. Whenever Force Awakens came out, was the last time I watched Phantom Menace. So 2016, I think or 15
so.
or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the last time I watched Phantom Menace because I did the marathon leading up to Force Awakens. And going back to it this time, it's a little boring. And I'm curious, Matt, is it a thing where it's like it's not boring, we're just not seeing what George Lucas is going for, or is it Dean, you're a fucking plebeian? Like,
well, okay, so every movie has its boring. Usually, like the world building, the talking is like the most boring parts of movies. Like I'm no stranger to this. Like I get it. Like a lot of movies that you've suggested, like, oh, it's a really great movie. I'm just like, it's just people talking. Like it's kind of boring.
It's a Dean movie.
Yeah,
it's boring.
This is a Dean movie. It's boring. But
I've heard that assault on my character before. Yes.
Sorry, I had to drop my keys. They were jingling.
He just dropped the keys. He's about to go in on me.
The talking, like, maybe it doesn't have to be there. Maybe they could have put something else. I haven't put any thought into, so I'm just gonna say they put it there because it had to be there, or they felt it had to be there. The delegation is like, okay, so they're already talking about how the whole thing, like the Trade Federation, they're trying to do this whole thing and they're trying to make it legal, which is like your first indicator that they're not like the bad guys here. They're like, oh, like, hey, you're telling us like to invade the planet with military force. Can we do that? Is that legal? And Sidious is just straight up, I'll make it legal. Like, just do it. Like, you're not here to ask me questions. You're here to do what I say. Like, do you want this or not? Like, do it. So,
sorry. Do it.
Yes. I'll make it legal. Do it.
Matt's been holding that Palpatine impression in for a long time.
Is it good? I hope it was good.
You're gonna have to do the rest of the podcast like that.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a joke. Continue.
So, anyways. So, like, this is like kind of what that's building up to, because Amidala wants to plead her case because, like most bureaucracies, like it's too slow. But she's under the impression that her people are dying, like one way or another, whether they're not eating because they've been told. She's received missives that, like, it's bad there.
The trade blockade has caused a lot of like starvation and problems there, right?
Yeah.
Granted, we see nothing but a nice Tuscan villa for most of the movie, but I get your point.
They're not under attack. It's just a blockade. They're just not allowed to leave, and things are not allowed to go in. So
we're starving, but it's beautiful outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
Naboo's
like,
pretty.
None of them, nobody there looks like, it doesn't look like there's very many farms there. It's just rolling hills, which is like, it's such a pretty setting. Like, Naboo is so pretty.
And fancy clothing.
And fancy clothing.
Look,
I have notes about her outfits. I was like,
her outfits are wild.
And she goes through them so quick, which
every scene she's in a new dress.
She's a queen.
It was like my first indicator. Like I was watching it today. Like I was like looking for things. Like, okay, what can I nitpick here? And it's like she changed so fast. Like, how did she do that? Like literally like the shot that she was in before. She was in the big red gown. That was like, it's like, I'm pretty sure it's on the cover of
the movie.
Yeah, like that red gown
with the weird giant donut hair. Where I'm like, her hair has to be 10 feet long to get it rolled like that.
Yeah, it's a headpiece. Like it's obvious. Dean, God.
Oh.
He's like, what? Her hair's 10 feet long? What?
Yeah.
Well, I was also like taken aback where I'm like, wait, is that Keira Knightley or is that Natalie Portman? I'm so confused.
Yes. That is the answer.
Yes. So yeah, it's the different suits, right? It's like she was just in the red one, now she's in the black one. Like I was like, okay, well, like that doesn't make any sense. Like, well, it's maybe like supposed to be like as a viewer, an intelligent viewer, maybe like not the kids. Like kids aren't paying attention to this. It doesn't matter to them. This is for people who are probably gonna nitpick it. That's probably your first indicator that she's got body doubles.
I see.
That's probably why her like closet space is like enormous, because she needs people to swap out like really quick. She's got to swap into the servant clothes while someone else has to pop into a new outfit.
That theory actually explains a nitpick for this movie. And
How does she have peasant clothes in her when she goes to Tatooine?
Well,
where did that's again watching it today? I was like, oh, that's really weird how she just happens to have like poor people clothes.
Just
like,
at the ready.
Yeah, at the ready when she goes onto the planet.
Yeah, because I think Obi-Wan says that part of the ship is her closet basically.
Yeah, they're talking
her luggage.
Yeah,
like they have they're talking to Watto, and Watto's like, no, I need money, and well, we don't have any money, so he asks Obi-Wan like, is there anything there that we can sell? He's like, no, not really, but we do have the Queen's closet that we could get rid of, but we're probably not going to get that much. It's like she's got a ton of clothes.
I thought that was a gag. I thought that was them being like, oh, wink wink to Spaceballs, because Spaceballs joke is like, well, we can get rid of her matched luggage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a joke, but now I'm like, oh no, that's actually just a signpost that there is a God damn you, George Lucas, you maniacal genius. If only you could write dialogue.
Hey, man, it was pretty good. I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is pretty nice. I took notes, dude. I stopped after the pod race, but I took notes.
Up until the pod race.
Hey, after that, it's just gas, bro. He's gas after the pod race.
Jesus Christ. Look, okay, I mean, I'm just trying to, rationalize, this movie, right? Because... I think one of the biggest reasons people dislike this movie, there's stuff inside the movie that's kind of funky, right? There's not, it's not a perfect object, but I think the biggest reason people dislike this coming into it was the expectations for it were fucking ridiculous. Well, right? Because when was the last time there was a Star Wars before this? This comes out in '99, I think. Return of the Jedi was what, 83, 4?
I think it was 82 or 83.
82, 83. So it's been 16 years since the last Star Wars, right? And George Lucas, I don't know if anyone knows this, George Lucas stopped directing films after A New Hope. Before Phantom Menace, George Lucas, the last film he directed was in the 70s. People were probably like, George Lucas is coming back. We're going to get a new hope.
Another new hope.
Another new hope. He's going to change the world. Oh my God. World peace will finally fall upon us. And then we got Phantom Menace.
He did the same deal with 20th Century Fox where he was like, okay, you don't have to pay me, but I want the toy sales.
You want to know something?
Hey, he was a genius.
You want to know something even more wild? He paid out of pocket for Phantom Menace. There is not a studio dollar in this because he wanted full creative control.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, this is the most expensive independently financed film of all time, which is fucking wild because George Lucas literally made more money than God off of Star Wars toy sales, people.
Yeah, I had a pretty decent collection at the time. I love those toys. They were so cool.
Same. I mean, I remember that whole craze. I remember seeing it in the news, the newspapers. People were, trampling each other to get the toys at the store.
I don't know how I got them. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you. They were awesome. I enjoyed them very much.
My dad hooked it up. I think he went to the swap meet and was like, yo, here's a box of them. And I'm like, oh, sick. I still have them.
I wish I still had mine.
No, my treasured piece from this movie that I have, and I couldn't find it, I was going to bring it today, was my Scholastic novelization of this movie that I picked up from the book fair.
Yeah, I remember those too.
And it's him running across with his little backpack on, running through Tatooine.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing about Phantom Menace is how some people have a lot of nostalgia for the original trilogy, and when they saw this, they were in their 20s, 30s, or whatever.
They were older.
And for us, it's the Phantom Menace or the prequels. It's we have nostalgia. We saw them when we were kids, and then when the Disney Star Wars came out, it's guys, come on, this ain't it, my guy. We finally become the villains in our own story.
I had good thoughts for The Force Awakens.
What about Rise of the Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker.
Let's pull it back on.
We're not talking about. Not talking about The Force Awakens. We're talking about Phantom Menace.
Let's go back to Phantom Menace, okay? But I guess let's get into Phantom Menace. The broad plot of the Phantom Menace is there is a trade dispute, threatens to collapse the planet of Naboo, and this caused the Republic to send in 2 Jedi Knights to solve the dispute.
Right.
And the Trade Federation, with somebody whispering in their ear, is planning to knock off the Queen of Naboo, Princess Amidala, or Queen Amidala.
Queen Amidala.
Queen Amidala.
Slay Queen Slay.
She's a queen, bro.
Slay Queen Slay.
Her daughter's the princess.
Exactly. When that happens, Leia. And the trade negotiations do not go very well. And then the Jedis have to go on the run.
There were no
I
negotiations.
was like, they never happened.
They never happened.
The Jedis go on the run. They end up on Tatooine. That's where they find a very powerful 8-9-year-old child. And then,
Just bursting with midichlorians.
Bursting with midichlorians.
Bursting at the seams.
And then Qui-Gon Jinn kidnaps him and takes him off to the big city. And
Yeah,
then
he does not kidnap him.
he buys him.
He wins his. Actually, no.
He trades for him.
He trades for him.
No, that kid won his own freedom.
Yeah.
He didn't even know that he was going to be set free after that. He just did it.
Didn't even finish a race before this one.
Yeah, but
Anakin Skywalker's about taking care of fucking business. That's what he's about.
Like, when the chips were down, he was there with the skills. Okay.
8 years old and I could win you this part.
You got
this money. I could win you all this. Yeah, I could fix
Then
this.
like Padme was doubting him the entire time.
He had those sweet lines too.
What?
Are you an angel?
He's the Rizzler.
That is why 8-year-old Anakin is just like, I see 14-year-old Natalie Portman. I can slay this. 8-year-old Anakin came in like swinging. All right,
He did. He is the Rizzler, and he had the clapbacks, man. Like it's like, you're a slave. I'm a person. It's like, oh, okay.
He's like, I'm a person, bitch.
Yeah. It's like, how dare you?
Okay. But let's get into, I guess, the play-by-play here, because after the text scroll, which is
okay.
fun.
we get the intro, right? Which is like the inverse of A New Hope. It's the small ship is going towards the big ship.
Yes,
which is like a little interesting thing to look at. It's like, oh, okay, so they land.
George Lucas makes a note that every Star Wars movie rhymes and vibes in that way. Because if you think about it, it's always like text scroll goes over, and then we pan or we move, and there's like the ship, right?
Yeah, which is cool. I actually kind of like that about his movies, that they're not the same. Like they're the same, but they're not the same.
It's like poetry. Like the stanzas rhyme.
Yes, it's pretty cool how he's able to do that in a pretty effective way. For the most part.
How he did the text scroll in American Graffiti, I don't know. But yeah.
But he did it.
He did it.
Yeah, so text scroll, the ship lands, and the ambassadors speak with a little protocol droid, C-3PO, little lookalike. That's pretty cool. It's like, oh wow, it's a C-3PO. Pretty nice. They get sat down. We get Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn's face reveals. Like, okay.
Can we just start here, right? The reveal of Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? It is played by Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor will go on to basically be the ordained God and Savior of the prequel trilogy from this point on.
He's incredible throughout all three. Like, he's amazing.
Literally, I think no one has any gripes about Ewan McGregor in any of these movies. But next to him is Liam Neeson, coming off of, I think, Schindler's List was the last major film he did before this, right? Where he was nominated for Oscars, all this other stuff. And he was also Darkman, his first American movie.
Yes.
I love that movie.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, your thoughts on Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi in this movie? Or like Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor in this movie? Because Ewan McGregor doesn't get a lot to do, and Qui-Gon Jinn is far more of the protagonist of this movie than anyone else. And then he, we'll get to what happens to him later.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah.
No, I thought Liam Neeson's performance was a little he doesn't have too much range in the movie, but I don't think it's his character to have it. He is more of a seasoned Jedi, and according to their whole doctrine, they have to kind of suppress their emotions a lot. You can see it in him. His emotions are more or less suppressed throughout the entire movie. He gets a little angry about things every now and then, but it's never too much. He's still a person. And whereas you look at Obi-Wan throughout the movie, he gets frustrated with things. He has some really less than nice comments about certain things.
He has one-liners. He has a sense of humor.
Yeah, which was great. I think that humor was for the adults watching. It's the more subtle stuff. It's pretty fun. The negotiations were short. It's shut up,
Obi-Wan, you scamp, you.
Yeah, exactly. You right.
With his little smirk.
Yeah, he's great. I love you, McGregor, in this movie.
So good. I just think it's interesting because in the, I guess, we're not going to talk about the stuff that comes after, but maybe the stuff that comes before, because that's context. Like, in the original trilogy, we never saw what a full-fledged, like, OG Jedi Knight looked like.
We just had Ben Kenobi.
It was Ben Kenobi and Yoda. That was it.
Both past their prime, both like literally on the verge of death. Some of them. So like getting to see two Jedi like actually like fighting, like in real like combat situations was pretty crazy. Well, we also got to see some of their different like abilities and stuff.
Yeah, it never comes up beforehand, but I was more concerned about the way that how their like emotion, how they carry themselves is so different than what we saw in the original trilogy.
They got so much swagger. Like
they got in the original trilogy or now
in prequels.
In the original trilogy, I'm like, oh man, like they have like emotion and range and depth, and in this one, it's just like. They just only have like the look and raised eyebrow, and that's all they got.
It's the doctrine. They're not supposed to.
But we get the original trilogy, the Jedi have fallen. The ones that have survived have hidden, so they're not following the same rules like now in the prequels where it's you have to be serious, no love, no this, no that, and we kind of get that with them where it's just like, okay, we're here for business, let's kick some ass.
Yes.
I just think it's interesting that because that wasn't established in the original trilogy, was it? No. Where they were like more emotional monk-like beings. But in this, I just think it's interesting that George Lucas is like, now this is like the foundation where we're gonna go on, and I think it's probably a thing he made mention where they start very stoic, and as the trilogy goes on, like by Revenge of the Sith, it becomes. Like his emotions are what takes him down, and Anakin has the full range by the end.
But by the end, he knew he was doing a trilogy, right?
Yeah,
because I don't know too much about like the outside, the making of these things.
Oh yeah. So what it was George Lucas, he did A New Hope, or he did Star Wars, and then they were like, oh, we can make sequels, so he redubbed it Episode 4, The New Hope, and everyone's like, Episode 4, what the fuck? And he was basically waiting for. The technology to catch up for him to do episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Thank God he waited.
Exactly. Oh yeah. But he makes I think it was like 92, 93 or something like that, where he's like, technology is finally caught up. I just saw Jurassic Park. We can do this, boys.
Let's go.
And he went back to his original script notes for when he did the original trilogy, because everyone had these long fuck off backstories. He filled like
he did it all by hand too, didn't he?
Everything by hand,
pads, right?
Everything on legal pans and note paper, and it was like this big ass like 3-ring binder of everyone's backstory, and he went back to that to beat out this trilogy, right? And it took, I think, like 4 or 5 years for him to go from like starting the writing process to release on this, something like that, because filming started in like 97, and but yeah, so George Lucas basically like. Went real deep into getting this made. I'll put it like that, and a shit ton of money.
That's good. Like I
did not want to see a 1985 episode 1.
I don't think it would have been as good, because like I'm glad he waited for like action. We'll talk about the duels when we get to the duels. But like if
the actions are untouchable for you.
Yeah, they're untouchable, dude. They are. Love them so much.
Oh, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, right?
Yeah, like okay,
the full-fledged Jedi Knights.
Yeah, so like when I say like I mean like you can see it like the way they talk to people, they are completely confident in their abilities. It's like after like going through like Gungan City, like they go back to like to get on the ships to leave. And they're walking up to the prisoners, like they're okay. We gotta free those pilots so they can get out of here. Blah 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 blah. One of the security enforcers starts walking up to the droids that are holding the pilots. And everyone just like stops and is like, "I got it.
Don't worry about this.
Like I'll handle it." And he does it by himself. It's like he's just a padawan at this moment. Like he's not on the same level as Qui-Gon Jinn, but he's still confident enough in his abilities to where he's just like, don't even bother. Like, it's okay.
He's like, I'm a fucking Jedi.
Yeah, like
hold my beer. I got this.
It's like every time like they walk into a situation, they're confident that they're gonna come out on top, which is it's what you would expect. What like a fabled like warrior like this that Obi-Wan talked about. Like it's like like oh we were the keepers of the peace. Like they got stuff done. which is what they're here for, the dispute. Well, I'm really having a really hard time like staying on track.
Because you're just like thinking of Obi-Wan Kenobi flying around, swinging his lightsaber,
Yes,
and Qui-Gon
he
Jinn
does
doing a shit.
He does the spin with the lightsaber later on. I was like, oh my god, that's so cool.
But
I think some of the confidence for Obi-Wan for being a Padawan is in the original script. Obi-Wan was supposed to be a Jedi Knight already. He was supposed to be established, and Qui-Gon comes in later during Coruscant. But they ended up hiring Liam Neeson, and they're like, we like you, we want you to be in more of the story. So that's where they kind of downgraded Obi-Wan to a Padawan, where it's like, you're still learning, and that's where some of the frustration is, because he's ready to hit the gas. He's ready
thinks
to go.
he's ready. Like, they talk to the council later, and he's like, "Oh, I'm ready. Like, yeah, I'm ready for the trials. Give them to me. Like, I'll do it."
It's interesting to me because in the text scroll it calls out 2 Jedi Knights, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, a Jedi master and his apprentice go. They call out 2 Jedi Knights, and I'm wondering if that was like a production mistake where they didn't go back and change it when they downgraded Obi-Wan. Again, it's one of those things where I just like notice it as we're talking about it.
It could have been, but I think it's just a generalization. It's like a Padawan is like a Padawan in the field is still a Jedi. Like a Padawan is just a title. He's still a Jedi. So
It's like you got the cool braid, you know how to twirl. Obviously, you're a Jedi.
Obviously, he went to band camp. He did the twirls. He's
got the skills to pay the bills.
He's got the midi-chlorians.
He's got enough.
We're gonna get into that. All right, when we get to that part, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, I know.
There's problems.
It's a weird one. I know.
But we get to see like the opening of the movie is actually like pretty solid because we're 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, we have a little bit of intrigue. There's like the Trade Federation's talking to the weird hologram
Easter
guy
eggs with 3PO. You know, we're starting to get, some things to pull us into
the universe. And also, like 5-10 minutes in, we already have the Jedi's fighting off droids, doing force powers.
Battle
Battle droids, which are more accurate than stormtroopers have ever been, apparently.
Yes.
Like,
Roger.
I love like the droids are great.
Also, they hurt to step on. I had a bunch of them when I had the toys.
Oh yeah, they hurt so much.
You leave them out at night and you step on one and you're like, oh my god.
Because they were all pointy.
Yeah,
they were all pointy.
They're so spindly and pointy. Like it's just God, so the Legos too. God, those arms.
In movie and in life, they're painful.
But the Jedi just wipe them. Just easy.
They wipe them, but we do get a nice little like indicator that for as strong as they are, there are certain things that they just can't overcome. That's when the droidicas show up, the destroyer droids
that have the force fields. They're fast. They can
they have
chug
an incredible amount of firepower because like so they're blasting and already like you could see the shift in the mood when like you hear the rolling. Like Obi-Wan calls out, was like, "Hey, yo, destroyers!" And Qui-Gon immediately stops what he's doing.
Stops like trying to burn through the
he stops trying to burn through the door
with his lightsaber, which I was like, that's cool.
It was really cool because the guy's like, there's no way they can get through that, and the other guy's like, have you ever encountered a Jedi Knight before? He's like, no, I haven't. He's like, oh,
we should probably leave.
He's like, close the door. He's like, that's not going to be enough. We're not going to survive this. It's like, we're the droids. Like, we need the droids.
That's also an interesting thing where it's like, usually it's like, oh, the heroes behind the door and the villains are trying to get in. Now it's the heroes trying to get in to get to the villains. And it's like, I kind of feel bad for those Trade Federation guys. They're kind of nerds.
They do not know what's going on. But, the droidicas show up. And they have enough firepower to put them on the back foot. It's like, okay, we can't stay here. It's too much for them to handle at this moment. So they zip off. And if you look at it, they take off really fast.
Yeah, they
zoom. I thought that I watched that and I was like, was that an editing mistake? Because they like teleport like 4 feet and then go
zoom, bro. It was crazy. They move so fast. Like we're seeing full-fledged Jedi in action, like Jedi in their prime in action.
And it's a thing where Jedi in their prime, and paralleling that from the original trilogy to this, like the prequels, they're fucking like superheroes.
Yes.
They're like actual superheroes.
They jump super high. They have like
lightning fast reflexes.
They're deflecting blaster fire like from multiple targets, from multiple shooters, like all around them. It's pretty crazy. They're insane.
They have mind control.
They do have the Jedi mind trick.
It's a nice power of suggestion that doesn't work on everybody.
Doesn't work on Wattos.
Doesn't work on Wattos.
I like when Watto comes up and he's just like, "Your Jedi powers will not work on me."
It's just like, what are you doing? What do you think you're also good at Jedi? Like, it's not,
he's like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, it was so good.
So, but they
didn't put 2 and 2 together at that point. I thought Watto would be smarter, but then he did say it was because of his species, not because he had a stronger mind.
Yeah.
Which that is a thing that I find we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to get the Jedi off the ship, and they're flying down to Naboo because they're on the run.
Which you can probably say is another callback to A New Hope, because they had to hide themselves in the Millennium Falcon in order to avoid detection.
Or they hid themselves inside like a distress ship, and they were like, "Don't fire on it. It says there's no life forms on there." As it crashed down to Tatooine.
Well, I was thinking more of like Obi-Wan and them. In the Millennium Falcon, where they go into the panels underneath the ship, which is like unfortunately we don't see how Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan like managed to hide onto one of the drop ships, but I imagine it was like some crawl space somewhere.
I imagine it was like an alien situation where it's like, there's 2 Jedi Knights on this ship. I don't know if we'll survive.
They're in the vents.
We need to get them out of the vents, and then we can go into cryo sleep.
In the walls.
It's in the goddamn walls.
The Jedi, they're in the trees. They're in the trees.
Yeah, they're speaking Huttese.
Could you imagine you're a clone? You're like a clone trooper or a stormtrooper or whatever, and you're just like, I remember when the Jedi came for us, man. They were in the trees. They were coming at us from all angles.
Yeah, like Ben started saying some weird stuff about he was gonna go. He was just feeling like deserting. It was like, started getting me thinking about it. And then I heard a swoosh, and then the head was gone.
It was weird. I saw this weird green light flinging around in the darkness.
I know there was this dancing bear in the distance. I don't know what they were, but they were just so happy.
Oh my god!
Fucking Ewoks.
Ewoks are horrifying.
So they land on Naboo.
They've landed on Naboo, and then we get
Jedi on the run.
We get Jar Jar Binks.
Okay,
so
let's discuss the Binks in the room.
Okay, so
the Jar Jar in the room.
Not Binks, our spokesperson.
Yeah, not we get Jar Jar Binks, his first introduction, and Jar Jar Binks is a silly guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen things where it's like, George Lucas like really wanted to get Jar Jar Binks right.
Said he was the key to the movie and the franchise.
The key to the movie and the franchise as a whole.
Or the trilogy, yeah.
Okay. That's honestly, I would like context. I would like to know his context for that, because people tell me that all the time, and I'm just like, okay, all right, fine.
Make it make sense.
So the only thing I could have as an explanation, because I watched like the making of featurette or whatever.
Yeah, so this is your thing. It's your jam.
Yeah, so I watched it, and he was very aware that Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be the comedic relief. He's like, he's the funniest character, or sorry, I got my George Lucas. He was the funniest character we ever made, and
sorry, I didn't know Jimmy Stewart stopped by to talk about Star Wars.
No, because George Lucas always sounds like he just got yelled at by somebody. But George Lucas,
you also don't have a Diet Coke with you.
I don't have a Diet Coke, but yeah. So George Lucas basically is like, he was supposed to be the comedic relief. We need to get him right because the people are going to need to vibe with him because he's going to be the funny one. And here's the thing. I believe the reason for that is Jar Jar Binks was direct. His direct goal was to make something for kids, like children, because if you look at like the behind the scenes or whatever, at the time he had like 3 sons that were all like 8, 9, and 7. Right? So he was making Jar Jar Binks, I believe, for that audience of small children, 8, 9, 7, whatever.
But we had Anakin.
See, that's the other thing.
Anakin wasn't funny.
Well,
he wasn't funny.
Anakin is funny
here's
now.
the thing.
Yes.
The original draft, Anakin's supposed to be like 14. He's supposed to be Padme's age. And then he was like, I want to age Anakin down because, as the writer or whatever, the people I see around me that are the kids are his sons, which are, again, 8, 9, 7, right? And he's aged them down so his kids would have a person to identify with, because if they made him too old, then he's a teenager, he's not a kid anymore. It was a conscious decision to do it. I don't think he landed it, though, because Jar Jar has a very goofy humor that I don't think has aged well.
Probably not, but I know that whereas I really like I thought Jar Jar Binks was pretty funny at the time.
Same.
I thought he was funny.
I thought he was the
Now-
greatest thing since sliced bread. Yes,
I didn't think
we had the Jar Jar Binks T-shirts. It happened.
I had
did-
the stuffed animal.
I
Jar
didn't
Jar
think
for
Jar Jar
president.
Binks was that great. It was like I noticed like when I would
He
talk
was
to
better
him.
than Boba Fett. He had more
Hey,
lines
hey,
across
hey.
the franchise.
Whoa.
Jar Jar Binks had more lines across the franchise than Boba Fett
Which-
had.
As,
wearing
as
right
Boba
now?
Fett is looking down on you right now, do you really want to talk?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dean's not going to make it
Jar
out of this
Jar
podcast.
Binks affects the plot far more than Boba Fett.
No, sorry.
Jar Jar.
You need
Dude,
to watch the
Jar
Book
Jar-
of Boba Fett.
That's factually true. Though.
Jar Jar, yeah, it's factually true. Jar Jar Binks did help move the plot forward, which
He
I
did.
thought was messed up because Qui-Gon was kind of mean to him.
Yeah.
Like
But
Or-
he did save him from dying.
he did save him from dying,
and then he's
just
like, "I owe
wanted-
you a life debt. I can't leave you now."
And he's just like, just leave me alone. Like Obi-Wan asks, like, who is this? He says a local, which again, like I was digging like deep into it. I was just trying to read between the lines with this because I wanted to be able to defend as much as I could.
Again, you're on trial for Phantom
Yes,
Menace.
I was watching with with intent to like defend as much as I could. So I was like, I wasn't just watching it to enjoy. I was watching. Okay, let me like actually like analyze what I'm looking at here. I'm under the impression that most people, at least most people in the Star Wars universe, don't know that Gungans exist.
I mean, up to this point, they never existed,
Mhm.
right? It's one of those weird things because everyone's like, "Oh my God, George Lucas had all of the Star Wars
Yeah.
universe figured out." And it's like, no, he really did. Like low key, Leia and Luke were not related until fucking Empire.
Yeah.
Like, and he like figured that shit out afterwards. He's like, you know, this would be a really cool twist on the characters. You know, we made them brothers.
So what? You know, she Frenched her brother. It's all right.
They didn't know at the
They
time.
didn't know.
Who cares?
They had this close bond. They just couldn't figure out why they felt so close to each
Yeah,
other.
you know, they just like went at it like rabbits, and then they found out they were related. It's like, we'll just never talk about this again. You'll go with Han, and I'll figure something else out. It's
That
fine.
is perfectly fine because they had no idea.
You would love Old Boy. Oh my God.
Don't
So,
make me watch it. Let's go back.
so,
Come on.
but it is
Let's
like
go back to the Binks, okay?
Yeah, but here's the
He
thing:
brings up Old
is
Boy all the time.
it's a great movie. It's fucked up, but it's great. So, but it's like thing where Gungans I don't think existed even in like expanded lore. To this point, like this is like the first time we see what the fuck a Gungan is,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
This is the first like Jar Jar Binks ism. So he's like introducing Gungan culture and the species in this movie, to
Whoa.
my knowledge.
Okay, which is actually fine. So I feel bad for the Gungans in this movie because like they like Qui-Gon Jinn, who I'm assuming is a pretty educated guy. He's been part of the Jedi Order for God knows how long.
He could have been on the council.
Could
He
have been
refused.
could have been on
Yeah.
the council, but refused him because he's got too much sass.
Mhm.
Probably knows a decent amount about how the politics work, more or less, because he spent so much time on Coruscant, most likely.
He's also going to Naboo, so he probably would have done research on like a cursory thing of the politics of the land, right?
Could be a reach, but still, like I'd imagine he would know most like about the intelligent species that live on the planet. It doesn't refer to Jar Jar as a Gungan, which is what he is. It refers to him as a local.
Mm-hmm.
So Gungans underrepresented in the Senate. They live on the same planet as the Nubians, underrepresented in the Senate. Not a part of it, which kind of sucks for them.
They're a subjugated class on Naboo, right? Because Queen Amidala and the Naboo people, they're the ones who are like running the planet.
Subjugated? No, because I don't see any indication that the Naboo have power over them.
They're on opposite ends of the
they're-
planet, I think is how it works.
In their hidden city.
Yeah, in their hidden city underwater. Apparently they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's some short dialogue where like there's like, oh, we found underwater villages all around the planet. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy.
Mm.
So
They're the Atlanteans.
Yes.
Gunga City is one of
Is
the
Jar Jar Aquaman?
he's not. He's a pariah. He was exiled.
Like Aquaman. Wait a minute.
Was because he was clumsy. Like
It's all
also,
making
I
that's
wish I
sense.
could do that to some people. Just you're banned from our society because you like trip too much.
Bro, you gonna be throwing some stones real close to yourself. You do that. But besides the point.
And
We get to see Gungan City.
We see Gunga City, and it is one of the prettiest locales in Star Wars.
I will say the reveal of it gives you chills. It looks fucking gorgeous.
It made me think
It's
of
so pretty.
Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone when we're seeing Hogwarts for the first time when they're on the boats.
Oh yeah, where it comes
Yeah,
up
it
in
comes
the,
over like
the fog.
It's such a pretty locale. I really wish they spent a little bit more time in there. I just wanted to see more. Like I wanted to see more of their culture. Like it's so nice down there. Other than the fact that it's underwater, it's actually really cool.
I think there's also an interesting thing that goes into that is, maybe this is like a best part to put it, like the CGI and the special effects for this movie. The Gungan City looks great when we're coming in over it because it's just like it has the water coming around it. It's all kind of like silhouette and dark, and it's like this light at the bottom of the water, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this 100% holds up. You could put this in a movie now, and people would get the chills.
It would look really good.
When they go inside, and it's Obi-Wan Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, and they're walking, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't pass the sniff test.
They're walking through like a thing of water. Most like studios today can't get CGI.
I was
water
talking
right.
about when they're walking into the fucking throne room.
Okay. All the other the other Gungans CGI isn't great. Like it came out in '99, bro. CGI is still bad, by the way.
Fucking the year after, like 2 years after we get Lord of the Rings. All right, calm down. Okay.
You're gonna look at me with like, okay, I know it was like way later, but Samwise ice skating into Mount Doom. You're gonna say that was good. Okay.
Still hold. Okay, maybe not that one. Okay. I mean, again, I'm not
you're gonna,
trying
You're gonna give me Boromir with a Rico flick as good CGI.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. But I'm like I'm half memeing here.
Yeah.
It's the thing where it's like. Because George Lucas wanted to wait for the computers and the CGI to be good enough or the effects to be good enough to make this happen. And I think, honestly, this is probably that turning point where it could happen. Because, you know, the effects from this movie literally, like, laid the groundwork for a bunch of other films to come out of it.
Yeah, and the CGI, for what it is, for the time, like, it's
stunning.
It's really good. Like, yeah, I could tell, like, things look a little weird, like the way they walk or the way they interact with everything else. When people walk in front of them, you know...
There's things where it's like, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but for 1999, this is insane.
Yeah, and did you say that he did this one all out of pocket, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, he built this, like, ILM, that's him. Skywalker Sound, that's him. Like, he basically had all of, like, the digital technology or whatever in his back pocket.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, something interesting, by the way, I just wanted to point this out. The pre-visualization, all the like the computer animation and everything that they did to basically beat out all of Star Wars, Weta Workshops saw that and that's how they did all the previs for Lord of the Rings. Yeah, like all the like Lord of the Rings.
Still saying that the CGI was bad. Like, was he not just hyping up Lord of the Rings?
No. The pre-visualization, like it's like the Unreal Engine where there's no texture. All right, but it's a thing. I'm just pointing it out that. The effects in this movie, rough they may be, but because of this, we get a lot of the effects that come after it. Like the Spider-Man movies use technology from this. The Harry Potter movies use technology from this. I think the Matrix sequels use technology from this because the Matrix came out like the same year. But the sequels use technology from this. Okay. Which is kind of like funky. Is an interesting thing about that movie.
Or it's all connected.
Or are they just like, oh, wow, that's actually really good for when it came out.
Fucking 1999.
The things that come after are almost always going to be better because like they see the mistakes being made, like okay, how do we improve on this? Which it's normal. That happens all the time. You can't fault something for that.
I'm not trying to fault it. I'm just saying it's like just interesting.
I'm sorry. I thought I was defending.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
And he's over here defending Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings is a beautiful film.
Like, no one said it wasn't.
But it's just a thing where I'm just like looking at it where they get into like. The like coming in certain because this is the last one filmed like on actual film. After this it's all digital, and I think that's a thing where the grain from the film in this actually makes some of the effects like hold up a lot better than others. Like Jar Jar Binks, like he looks a little smooth and some stuff, but he holds up well.
You know what? I think I agree with you. I remember like I was like I think I noticed a shift. I was like, oh wow, it's like I can notice it a lot more that he's CGI.
But it's just an interesting thing when we see Gungan City, because I'm like, man, this shit fucking holds up, and I think it's the grain that makes it look so good.
We'll just go back to film grain. Like it looks so good.
We'll just film everything in 70mm Panavision
Forever from now on. Gungan City, really beautiful. The whole like people, I remember someone was telling me like, oh, the Gungans like are like they're a racist thing. They're attacking the African American people, which I find that interesting. How you see something in a negative light and you attribute it to a race. Like, I don't think that's a problem with the material. I think that's a problem with your perception of things. Because like I think the Gungans are really cool. They have a really lovely society. They've got interesting like boats and stuff. Like everything looks really nice. Fits a really good aesthetic. And they were willing to lay down their lives for the Naboo. Like surprise, like really noble for a people that they thought hated them.
Yeah.
It's like,
and people that didn't know that they existed.
yeah, or like the Naboo knew they existed. No one else did, but they're like, oh hey, like these droids are gonna take us out. Like, well, we don't really like you that much, but like we're gonna help you out.
And we have cool weapons.
The bolas.
Yes, those are
I thought the
awesome.
bolas are really cool.
Okay, but the Jedi get to Naboo. They manage to meet the Queen, and then they're like, okay, we got to go on the run because the fucking Trade Federation's on our ass, right?
Yeah,
and they
go through the planet core. They get the ship. Obi-Wan kicks ass. Qui-Gon kicks ass.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish, which as I think it's foreshadowing for Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
They get on the ship and they're leaving the blockade. Blockade didn't do a very good job, but it's only one ship. Blockades are made to stop a lot of ships.
Besides the point, we
get
land
R2.
We get R2.
My man.
Yes.
Who does anyone else feel bad for the droids that died saving that ship?
Yeah,
They scream when they die.
I forgot that. When I was watching, I was like, oh my god, my heart's breaking.
They scream when they die. It's horrible.
I'm just like, why did you... I'm thinking in my head, and it's just like, R2's probably thinking, it's like, why did you give me emotions? Why?
Yes.
Why do I have a sense of death? Why? Oh. So, but...
They land on Tatooine. We get the... Yay, Tatooine.
Yes.
We get to Watto, which is a really great character for this act. Like he's really good. We get Anakin, the Rizzler.
We finally get to meet Anakin Skywalker 45 minutes into the film. All right.
Yes.
Now, I know we're gonna try and speed up because we're running out of time, but we gotta talk about Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, we
okay?
Okay.
Played by Jake Lloyd. He is like 8 or 9 in this movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is an issue with the film, and not in like Jake Lloyd's performance. He gave exactly what George Lucas wanted. I think it's a thing where they put the weight of this movie on a very young kid.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been a mistake on the filmmaker's part, because
he got bullied for this afterwards.
He quit filmmaking. He quit acting because of this movie.
That's very unfortunate. There are very few, like, I don't think there's a child actor that could have like done better.
At this time, not that I could think
in 1999, no. Like Haley Joel Osment is what, like 12 at this point, and he did like Sixth Sense, so he's like a dramatic actor, I guess. But
I'd say, Anakin's like arc was pretty dramatic. Okay, so they could have. Okay, Haley Joel Osment could have done better.
Well, no, okay, I'm not even saying like that. I'm just saying like. I'm just saying, like, they should have got somebody who's like 14 or something to do this, and then for the sequels after, it could have been the same actor, right? Because they're like a year or two apart, right? So by Revenge of the Sith, the guy would have been like 21. So I'm like, okay, that would have probably functioned better, kind of like a Harry Potter thing. But it's also like, fuck, this is like a rough go for Jake Lloyd, right?
But if we didn't have Anakin as a child, and then Attack of the Clones, where we get, I hate sand. We need that. We need that bridge.
There is an issue with the fact that the dialogue does not give him a lot to work with.
No.
The script's not giving him a lot to work with. The whippies, oh buddy, oh golly, like there's some. He has some Riz moments.
I say yippee all the time. He's a kid, and he's not all that downtrodden the fact that he's a slave. He's pretty upbeat for someone who's living in slavery.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, go clean the shells. They could go home.
Yo,
if I was told the same thing, I'd be so happy. I'd be running home.
I get that all the time when I'm at work. Go do this one thing and you can go home. It doesn't matter if I know I'm gonna finish by the time I'm supposed to get off. The fact that, hey, if I can do it fast and I get to go home early, That's great.
You literally yell yippee as
I
you
yell
hop off the
dude,
counter.
I say yippee all the time. It might have been because of this movie, but
Well, besides the point.
You're having
Yeah.
a full circle moment.
he did okay. I think it speaks better to Anakin's character at this point in his life. His mom mentions that like or I think it was Qui-Gon, he gives without even thinking about getting a reward in return. He is he's just a kind person. He's a good person, and he speaks to it speaks about him a great deal.
I will say that I think the goal Lucas is going for is he started off as like the nicest, kindest, most noblest kid. Revenge of the Sith becomes the monster, and by the end of Return of the Jedi, it's like that kindness, that good soul came back.
Yes, like
it's always there. It couldn't even go away.
It couldn't. He was always at the core of his being good. He's a victim of circumstance, unfortunately,
and he's also easily seduced by the dark side.
The execution, I think, is what people have issue with.
Okay, like you're gonna say like, oh, that actor did a bad job. Like he's a kid.
I don't think he did a bad job. He was not given good material. You cannot tell me that the dialogue in this movie is Shakespeareanly crafted.
Well, he's also a child. You don't expect Shakespearean, from him.
Liam Neeson, actual Shakespearean actor, and it sounds wooden as hell coming out of his voice.
You could just attribute that to the character that he's playing.
I guess, but it's a thing where I think the script is clunky. Where I mean, we're gonna get into it once after the pod race, where he gets to like the Senate stuff, and it's like that shit's clunky as hell.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me you can't tell me like this movie is like it's just that's just what Lucas wanted. No, the dialogue's clunky, and I think that's an issue that just comes in with like he's asked to perform in a certain way with some clunky dialogue that's just not very forgiving to him, and that's probably what people took issue is they probably mistake the fact that this dialogue's clunky, he's not giving a whole lot to work with, and thus he's a bad actor. No, I think he's a fine actor, and he just didn't have the material to, like, show off.
Right. Okay, then. Right. That's fair. I'm not a writer. I've tried writing before, and it was awful. I can't write dialogue. I cannot
You could still be George Lucas, though.
I don't think so.
Sand. Of course, though.
I do blame that on a performance, but that's also
a performance.
It's also Clone Wars and not Phantom Menace.
No. All right,
and a different actor too.
But yes, we get to meet Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker, the Riz Lord.
He is already trying to slay Padme off the boat. Yes.
Hey, dude, I was into girls at a very young age. Was I a Riz Lord? No, I was not. But I would see a pretty girl and be like, oh, hey, you're really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't dropping, are you an angel?
No, but
I want to imagine he's like, it would have been so funny if somebody if Natalie Portman talks to Shmi and she's like, yeah, he said it was an angel, and he's like, he says that to all the pretty girls. That's his same line.
I want that. Can someone please give that to me? So
it turns out he's just like this fucking like ladies man slaying across. We're going fine, Riz Lord. Okay.
All the stalls in Tatooine that sell different snacks and treats.
Yes.
He's like, oh, I'm back, angel.
I'm back.
Here, have this space
snack. Here you go, Sonny. You better get home. My bones are aching.
Okay, but
not the butterscotch.
Butterscotch cookies. But we finally get to like. They get to meet Anakin. There's this whole build-up leading up to like, oh, we need to get these parts from Watto, and the only way to do that,
the hyperdrive is broken. They need to get the parts. He doesn't have the cash to do it
because they don't take credits.
They don't, but
which I don't take credit either.
They do gamble.
They do gamble,
and the best thing to gamble on
is the pod races.
Ooh, buddy!
So Anakin has built from the ground up his own pod.
Smart kid.
What a marvel. Oh my goodness.
Jimmy Neutron up in this bitch.
With the brain blast. He comes up with the idea for Qui-Gon to enter the pod under the guise that it is his pod that he acquired through gambling. Believable story.
Mm-hmm.
And then have Anakin pilot it for him. So, and Watto kind of agrees to this. He thinks it's a good idea. It's an easy way for him to make some money. And later, Qui-Gon raises the stakes, but if he kind of changes the payout. I don't remember exactly. I'm trying to speed this along.
He has altered the deal.
He's altered
Pray
the
I
deal.
don't alter it any further.
Well, lest he be owned by Watto too. Ooh. It's like, hey, okay, if Anakin wins, I get him. Watto doesn't like this idea, so he uses he
A chance cube.
a chance cube, another gambling thing. A lot of gambling in this part. Oh my god.
You're like, it speaks to my life.
It's like
That's why I work in a
blue
gambling.
is Anakin, red is Shmi. He rolls the thing. Qui-Gon does a little, very subtle,
Jedi tricks.
Jedi force trick. Gets it to land on blue. Watto's not happy about it. But Watto decides to bet against him anyways. his own horse. He bets against his own horse in the race.
I mean, it's because Watto bet on the other guy, right?
He bet on Sebulba.
Sebulba. Great villain. He's the true villain of this piece.
He's a
Total douchebag.
Yeah,
Yep.
I freaking hate him. But oh my god, his pod sounds like a hog, dude.
Sounds like a what?
A hog, bro. Like the dun 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 dun. The engine is like, dude, it sounds so cool. It sounds so meaty.
That is something interesting about the pod race, because once we get the pod race, it is like one of the best moments in like the Star Wars, the prequels. It is so exciting. There's no music to it. It's fascinating.
Oh my god.
It's all engine noises. It's whooshing. There's no music. There's not a single note of music in the entire pod race sequence.
Are you sure?
100%. You can look back and watch it.
I think you're wrong, sir.
Mm.
I think
remember
maybe
score being in there.
There is no score in the entire pod
Hmm.
racing sequence unless
Okay.
it's at the end during the
No.
celebration. During
No.
the actual race, there's none.
I do remember a score when the part that Sebulba broke falls off and things start going crazy.
Hmm.
Like I remember a score there.
But now you're thinking the
But-
other 14 minutes?
Probably not. So I'm just like, oh wow, that's pretty crazy.
But it fucking works because it's just
Dude,
tension.
It's really good, and the score they use for that part, they use it in a lot of tense moments. It's the really like high pitched parts of like the string strumming. It's really good. So really good for tension. The score. Oh my god, the score.
Which I thought was really cool. The audience watching the pod race was actually filmed at a 49ers game.
Yeah, that's where the sound comes from.
Yeah, the sound technician, he took a recorder with him, recorded the crowd, and just put it in the movie, and it works.
No wonder why they're always cheering. Because the 49ers are always gassed, apparently.
If only they can win a Super Bowl in our
They
lifetime.
just dropped it.
I
We're
mean,
so
I'm
close.
a Packers fan, so I have to
Same.
hate the Niners, but still, like, come on, they play a good game. The pod race.
The pod race.
So
Again.
people like to shit on it because like, oh, it's just frame for frame the chariot race from Ben-Hur, as
Which-
if it's not the best part of Ben-Hur.
Also, it's not frame for frame.
No, it's
That's
not frame for frame. It's
people over exaggerate. No, it's like heavily inspired. There's some parts that are
Yeah.
similar, but it is very different.
yeah, it's really freaking cool. Like just like they're hyping up the pod race this entire act. It's like, oh, they're really fast, really dangerous. I'm the only human that can do it, by the way. And you see,
And that tips off Qui-Gon Jinn being like, he's force sensitive.
yeah, he can.
It's not that he has fast reflexes. He knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Like you see a lot of people actually die in this race. There's people that die.
Yeah.
And they're really gruesome too. Just the way some people get taken out.
Was this PG or PG-13?
I think it's PG.
I mean, it's not a gory movie.
No, it's not gory.
It's violent.
It's like, but
But it's like cartoon deaths. It's not like,
Like, I would still say, a guy, like you get a close up of a guy scream and then he explodes is pretty freaking gruesome. Oh, I guess maybe gruesome is the wrong. Maybe visceral.
It's visceral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
visceral. I guess is the word I'm looking for.
PG.
PG.
And, like
Interesting.
we'll just sweep under the rug that people were exploding halfway through this movie.
I mean, once we get to the end where it's like the real sadness death, then we'll talk about how this should have been like R-rated because that hurt too much.
yeah, it did.
Too
Oh my
much.
god,
It made me cry.
R-rated for hurts my
Like last night?
feels.
No, when I watched it the first time.
Oh, okay.
I cried too. I was like, oh my god, he's dead.
No.
Heroes don't die in Star Wars movies.
They don't. And then here came the sequels, and I was like, oh god.
But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. So the pod race, fucking one of the best parts of the entire prequel trilogy. It's incredibly exciting.
I
George
think
Lucas knows
I
what he's
think
doing.
of Star Wars in general, like there's not a lot of action sequences that, or maybe like I think every movie has like one or two really good ones, but I don't think they're as good as the pod race.
it's also a thing. George Lucas is like, people can talk shit about George Lucas as a director. He knows what works like visually, because he made a note where it's like, you can watch a lot of Star Wars with like, the sound off and it'll still work. And I'm like, okay, yeah, for the pod race it fucking works. Like, that's just really fucking good tension. For like maybe like the Senate meeting, maybe not so much, but
like it just left me wondering like Anakin is having all these problems with his pod. Like, is anyone else going through this right now?
But he's also super cool about it too.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, okay, this isn't working. All right, let me see what I could, what I could hit.
As he's moving too through like some crazy portions of the thing, I was just like, how is he doing this? Like,
I have heard the theory that the pod, like his pod, actually isn't a functional pod racer, but he believes it works so much because of the Force that he's able to make it work, like the orcs in 40K. I've heard that theory before, which would be so cool. It's not true.
Which would be cool. I refuse to believe that's true because it takes a lot away from Anakin, like as like
being smart.
Yeah, he's touted as being like the best pilot in the Jedi Order, like,
and we continue to see that through the prequels and through the original trilogy.
Yeah, like he's really good at fixing things. He's just incredible. He's just an incredible talent, Force sensitive or not. Like he had, I think, the reaction speed is like the Force, but him, like his techno prowess, I don't think that has nothing to do with the Force. Like, I don't believe it does. Like,
I mean, even in the original trilogy, he was like, "Oh, these fucking pilots can't take over an X-wing. Load the ship up. Vader's going out.
Yeah, I'm going by myself," and he does it.
But yeah, but the pod race sequence, fucking great.
The pod race is so good that it also sparked the Taco Bell campaign.
I remember the pod racing drinks,
the cups.
That's true.
You know what? I think I remember those. Like, but they do cups of everything.
But it was the big cup, like the large one from Taco Bell, and then it was the big plastic topper that had the different
they
pod
had the different
racers.
pod races on them.
Yeah.
I had Sabalba.
I'm pretty sure I thought Anakin's pod was really cool. Like,
because he had the little goggles.
Yeah, the goggles. He had the goggles.
Okay, but the pod race is cool. We finally... Anakin has won his freedom.
Anakin wins his freedom, and then...
This is where your heart breaks.
I love my mom so much.
When he has to say goodbye to his mom.
It's like before they leave the house, the dialogue is a little... The performance is a little I get it. And they also thought it was funny how they spray painted toys silver to make them look like fancy little tools.
Yeah,
I know that's a freaking racket pull. We get goodbye C-3PO. He's about to leave with Qui-Gon Jinn, and he stops. He's having doubts, and he runs back to his mother, and he doesn't think he can do it, so he has to get another pep talk. Like I guess they bring it up later how fear is the path to the dark side, and he is so scared of losing his mom. He really doesn't want to let her go, but he has to in order to do what he really wants to do, because being a Jedi is something he's always wanted to do. He's got to follow his dream. He's got to do it, and unfortunately he has to leave her behind in order to do it, and he makes the unfortunate promise that he's going to come back for her,
which he lied about. Fucking Anakin the liar. Man, it's okay. It's just a movie. You don't have to cry. It's fine.
You can bring me on to talk about this Clone Wars 2, or Attack of the Clones if you want, so I can get so I can finish this part.
Thought. Yeah.
But it's really unfortunate, and me, like, even like I can't remember what I was thinking as a kid seeing this, but I know now. I'm just like, man, I really love my mom, and it would really suck if I had to like leave her forever in order to do something that I really wanted to do.
Especially being taken away by this weird monk man that wandered into town not a day ago, and is like, I swear,
very handsome too.
Very handsome, and he's like, I swear I'm a Jedi. Let me take your small child with me into the space for adventures. There's questions there. There are questions.
But you got to give Qui-Gon some credit because he did try to free her too.
He did try.
He did. He just couldn't.
It's unfortunate, but he couldn't.
I'm also like, Qui-Gon, just like come back in 2 weeks and be like, hey, I brought shit you actually want. Here's some gold bullion.
We don't have 2 weeks.
We don't have 2 weeks.
We don't have 2 weeks.
We only have days.
Yeah, they've got to do the thingy. They've got to take Amidala back. So they got to take care of business.
They get onto They go back to the ship, but
They go back to the ship.
What-
Someone's waiting for them. How this is one a nitpick that I actually had. I was like, how did he know they were on Tatooine?
I think it was a thing because he
They
knew
had the droid, the surveillance droid.
Well,
that was
no,
going
yeah.
through.
how they knew they
No,
landed on
he-
Tatooine.
Yeah, how did because there's dialogue with Sidious and Darth Maul saying like they're on Tatooine. Let's go there. They're not gonna be a match for you. Blah, 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 blah. So Darth Maul goes to Tatooine. Like, when did they figure that out?
My only guess is the Trade Federation might have tracked them. Like, they left through this direction, and the only planet that you could land on that direction is Tatooine. Maybe, but it is a little like plotty, funky thing.
Yeah, it
that
was-
one gambling planet with the
Oh,
two suns
with the huts.
The
Mm-mm-mm.
huts. Why would they go there? That's a stupid idea. But
The huts is like Atlantic City. It's not great.
But if Qui-Gon was able to figure out like, okay, this is probably the best place to land, I will give credit to Sidious and Darth Maul that they were able well, where else would they go?
I'm
Like,
giving
it's-
credit to Darth Maul for being the coolest looking person in this movie.
Oh,
and
I mean, just
throwing
he
like a
looks
champ.
like a straight villain. Oh my god!
I'm
Darth-
mad because I don't remember the trailer that well, but apparently Darth Maul had a monologue in this movie, and they cut it out.
Damn.
Okay, the original cut for this was 6 hours long.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd did an interview, and he's like, "Yeah, there's a 6-hour cut. We have a Snyder cut of this movie, and it's epic. And a handful of people got to see it, and then who knows where it went."
I want to watch this.
It's
Honestly.
probably sitting in Lucas's vault somewhere because there's
It's
like
in the attic
oh, it's probably in the attic.
or the basement.
But it is a thing where there's a
What
much
is this crap?
there's a
6
much
hours, so-
longer cut I think for each one of the movies.
That's fine. We don't need a 6-hour cut because God, we gotta wrap this up.
Hey,
Sure, yeah.
We just reviewed the Snyder cut, which was epic. So I want a 6-hour cut of Phantom Menace.
Same.
I will sit through it and watch it. It's probably
I
gonna
would
be
just
watch
be
it.
fascinated.
I'll watch it in parts if I have to.
I'd just be
But-
fascinated with what it looks like. But yeah.
Darth Maul. Oh my god. You don't even you see him, he's still in the hood,
Mhm.
which I want to call back to this later. But, they have that this short duel in the desert. It looks epic. I really wish the shots were better cuz it's mostly a lot of close-ups of the sabers clashing,
Mhm.
which is unfortunate. I wanted to see them move.
Well, we're gonna see the move later. I think
Yeah,
this is like
later.
to wet your beak a little
I
bit.
guess oh wow, that's a Sith, which the only Sith we've seen before is Darth Vader.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that little fight was actually really cool. I wanted to see more of it, and unfortunately, they can't be bothered to do this. They got to leave. We get to see Qui-Gon do the super jump onto the ship platform.
Mhm.
He's tuckered out like, oh my god, whoever he was
I'm getting
fighting.
too old for this crap.
Yeah, whoever he
Yes.
was fighting was a real threat. Like,
Absolute fucking G.
yes, so they had to get out of there. We get the Senate stuff. Unfortunately, yes, I know it's boring, but every movie has its slow bits where it's just exposition. It's there to move the plot forward. Unfortunately, it had to be that.
And the issue is the fact that it's very long and it's very drawn out. That's the issue
Yeah.
is with this section of the movie is this is exposition central.
Mm-hmm.
It's Palpatine talking to Queen Amidala,
This is-
talking to the Senate, and
this is this
yeah.
guy. This is how this works. This is how democracy is really run. But we can change that if you just say this one little thing, and all your problems will be fixed.
Yeah.
And going into it, I didn't think she I knew she was going to, but you could tell that she didn't she liked Valorum. She believed that he had her planet's best interests at heart, but unfortunately she sees the true nature of the situation, how he has no real power anymore apparently,
Yeah.
which I don't think any chancellor would, but
He is full on bureaucracy. So he
Yeah.
has orders to give down to people who do a long chain. But
yeah.
this is paralleling the Weimar Republic when it's after World War One, where it's all this weird bureaucracy, nothing can get done, and then
yeah.
Palpatine's just elect me chancellor and I will
Well,
take over.
He
Palpatine, Hitler.
He didn't say that. He said call for a vote of no confidence and they'll elect a new chancellor, a stronger chancellor. He at no point said it was going to be him.
It's one of those things where he's playing that 3D
Are-
chess where he
well,
know it was
okay,
going to
so
be him.
Are we reviewing this knowing who he is.
You can
because
so tell who he is in this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you
His
can.
voice doesn't change, and like that hood doesn't cover a lot. I know he's fucking like the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious.
Yeah, like you know, but like, are you supposed to know? Like that's what I'm watching. I was like, am I supposed to know that he's Sidious? Because it's kind of, not only do I know, but like, am I supposed to know?
I feel like you're supposed to know just on the fact on how he's dealing with Amidala.
Yeah,
and
he's trying to manipulate her the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
it's a thing where I think you're supposed to know he's like in on it. I think it's a thing where maybe you're not supposed to call out that, oh, he's going to be the Emperor. But you know he's supposed to be like the Sith Lord.
So we're going to Target afterwards, right?
Oh God, Becky has just brought up pictures of the Phantom Menace toys that are currently at Target right now.
Ooh,
damn, I
buddy.
wish, if only I had money.
But
Same.
yes, so,
But yeah,
I think we're supposed to know.
Okay, so we're supposed to know. Then if we're supposed to know, then they do a really good job of showing that this guy is not who he says he is.
And
Lo and behold, he gets elected to be chancellor. A surprise, but a welcome one.
yes,
Me, little old me.
Oh, what? Really? Wow, that's so
thanks
crazy.
guys, cool.
And she Amidala does the Uno reverse card, and she decides to go back to Naboo
And get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Queen's gonna slay.
she's gonna slay. Like, I'm not gonna sit here comfortable while my people are dying.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to her, real queen.
Hmm.
So they go back.
Goes up with her fucking revolver, and she's like, "I'm gonna start dropping
Yeah.
bitches and get shit done." All right.
Yes, Queen.
Jedi,
yes.
we get
Yeah.
Jedi
Yes.
Council, which is apparently only 2 people, by the way. So 2 people talk.
Yeah, there's,
As you do.
I think others talk, but they do not add anything to the conversation.
Well, it's like,
when one's Yoda and the other
Ki-
Samuel L. Jackson, they lead the room.
Yoda,
right?
Samuel Jackson, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. They're the only other Jedi that talk during this whole thing, and I think they let you say like the way the Jedi elite think,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. They don't want
Expanding the lore, I guess.
expanding the lore as much as they could, which is cool. We got to see Yoda, which like they've mentioned him throughout the movie, and we get to see him younger and still expounding his great wisdom
As a puppet, which is good in this movie.
Did you know who could have been Mace Windu in this movie?
Who?
Tupac Shakur.
Yeah, because the casting for this went out so.
I don't know if that would have been better.
The casting for this went out so long ago that when Tupac was alive, he was like, "I want to be in Star Wars."
He
That's
was a
all
big-
he wanted.
He was a big fan, and before they had even
Damn.
like developed the character, they're like, well, we have a Jedi Master that probably you could do, and then he unfortunately passed away.
I think he died before he
What do you
even
mean?
went into a meeting with George Lucas.
What do you mean? He's still alive. He's hiding out.
Him and Elvis are still vibing.
Yeah, they're vibing.
And another crazy one that wanted to be in the movie, which George Lucas said no because it would have distracted, and I agree. Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson wanted to be Jar Jar Binks.
I'm really glad that didn't happen.
That would have been a little rough.
In hindsight, really glad that didn't happen.
Just break out to the song during the middle of the movie.
I hope
What
not.
is going on?
It wasn't a Disney movie yet. If it was a Disney movie at the time, it definitely would
Okay, so
have.
that's only Jar Jar Binks. So we get.
Annie, are you okay?
We get the.
Annie, are you okay?
Oh my
Are you okay?
God,
Are you okay,
no.
Anakin? Okay.
Anyways.
Gets to go back to Naboo.
Go
We're
back
gonna
to Naboo.
settle some business because Amidala stands on business. She goes
But
to the
there's some
Gungans.
things they gotta do first. Yeah, they gotta talk to the Gungans because the Naboo don't have a standing army
No.
Mm-mm.
for their
reasons.
they're peace loving hippies. That's just what they do.
Fucking pussies.
Gungans don't care. Gungans got at least a ground force, which the Naboo don't have. So we get to see some nice I don't know the word for it, but we get to see Amidala, whether I don't know if it was her swallowing her pride or she was always capable of just like showing respect to the Gungans, just never really was given the opportunity because they're seclusive.
Yeah. It's very odd that they seem to like be aware of each other in this scene, but it's like they've never talked. Because the Gungans have some issues with them, and the Naboo have just never been like, oh yeah, we need to talk to the Gungan. This is like the first time there's like, we should probably go talk to those like people over there in the Hidden City.
Let's go talk to them. But like, I assume that they're aware of each other. They live on the same planet. They had to have interacted at least once. But the Gungans have some grievances with them. They think they're so uppity, they're so into themselves. Blah 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 blah. Amidala shows some humility by kneeling towards the big boss, and he likes that. He's like, "Oh, so you guys aren't as uppity as I thought. Yeah, sure, we could be friends.
Cool, thanks, bro.
Yeah,
All
easy."
right, we'll fight
Give him the
together.
bump.
That's all he needed. He just needed to know that they weren't too into themselves to ask for help, or to maybe he thought they looked down on them,
And
whereas maybe they did, maybe they didn't. We don't know. We're not given context to that.
then we get the third act action sequence.
Oh my
where
god!
we have the Queen Amidala and her forces invade.
We get the infiltration.
Yes.
We get the ground war. We get the space battle, and we get
The duel.
the duel of fates.
Okay.
Okay.
We get
There's a
the-
lot going on here.
We
We'll
We
let
get the
everyone know.
epic throne where she's like, "Yo, take
And
off
she
the
got-
panel,
she
guns."
got the guns.
I'm gonna let everyone know we're running out of time, so we can't talk about everything. Let you know it's all epic, but we have to talk about Duel of the Fates.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
let's do the so the ground battle was really cool. It calls back to the Ewoks defeating the stormtroopers.
It's a direct reference to War and Peace and those old movies. It looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like the marching, the droid march theme is one of the best scores in Star Wars. I think it's better than the Imperial March, personally.
Mm.
Becky's man, Matt's
Yeah.
bringing in hot takes
Yeah.
I mean,
today.
it's good.
I
It's
know.
good,
Like-
but we'll agree to
I
disagree.
know I know that's one of my biggest hot takes ever. I actually think it's better.
We needed a 3.5 hour podcast. Goddamn, we needed to book
We
more
needed
time.
We needed it, but so that was good. The rank and the marching, the guns firing was really
Mhm.
cool. The infiltration was really neat. We got to see Amidala kick some ass. Have some pretty creative thinking on her security officer's part, where instead of going through the hallway to get the delivery, he just blows out the window.
And they do the rappel
The-
up,
the
and it's
rappelling
it
thing,
looks so fucking
yeah,
cool, James Bond shit.
Super spy movie energy. It was really cool. Oh my! They get to the throne room. Oh my god! It was a trap. The Gungans are losing. Oh my god! What are we gonna do? Anakin goes into outer space accidentally.
And
But,
Anakin
you know,
being ace pilot,
he's
taking
like-
on
He's like, I'm here. Might as well do something while I'm here.
Qui-Gon told me to stay in the cockpit.
He's
I'm
told me
gonna do
that's
that.
what I'm gonna do.
9-year-old Anakin Skywalker being like, shit's going down. I ain't no bitch.
Hey,
I'm throwing.
He didn't 5-year-old thinking. Well, he didn't leave the pod.
He did.
He did what he was told.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He didn't leave the
Qui-Gon
cockpit.
Jinn can't be mad at him. He's doing his shit.
Doors open. Darth Maul standing right there. The music shifts.
Yep.
Bum,
And it's-
bum.
And it's fucking on. And then the Jedis are like, don't worry, we'll take care of this.
We'll
And
Robes drop.
Robes drop, bro. They're in robes the entire movie. They're like, oh, it's real.
they drop the fucking weights.
Yeah, they drop
And
the
then,
robes.
and then what does Darth Maul? He pulls out the lightsaber and then
the second one, dude. As a kid, I was like, oh my god.
I think
they have
everyone
lightsa-
screamed in
They
the
have
theater.
lightsabers like that.
they have lightsabers
They
that are
have
bow staffs.
They have different lightsabers. What?
And they
Dude, watch Luke versus Darth Vader.
Mhm.
You know,
big emotional moment. It's atmospheric.
it's very atmospheric, very emotional. It's the best they could do at the time. It's amazing. I love that duel for different reasons.
yes, for pure spectacle.
For
Yes.
pure spectacle, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul is incredible. The music is like one of the I think it's the best score in Star Wars. I think it's the best score
Yeah,
in
it's-
a lot of
mhm.
things. It's so there's so much tension. There's a lot of rising and falling.
There's emotion.
There's
When they get to the the walls or whatever, and then Darth Maul's standing there, Mad Dog and Qui-Gon
Dude,
Jinn just
Qui-Gon
goes.
Jinn relaxes. He's got to rest up. You know, it's a
He's
pretty
meditating.
He goes into meditation, and you can see Darth Maul getting kind of scared,
he-
kind of I don't know about
Darth
this.
Maul wasn't scared. He was unfortunate for Qui-Gon. Darth Maul knew he was going to win that fight.
And Obi-Wan Kenobi's just right down the hall watching him,
Well,
getting ready.
You can see it in the way they handle themselves in that moment. It's Darth Maul's ready to go. Obi-Wan's ready to go. Qui-Gon, he's looking kind of tired.
Mhm.
He needs to gather up his energy for this next thing. He has to.
And then the doors open. Dun, 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 dun,
No.
dun, 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 dun,
There's
dun.
no music.
Oh, there is no music for the second half.
There's no music for the second half. I think it's The doors open. Qui-Gon goes to fight Darth Maul. I don't believe there's a score. I was too enraptured by like this point. I'm way too enraptured in the movie to pay that much attention to what's going on. But I don't believe there's music at this point. There is when the killing blow, or not the killing blow, but
when he gets Qui-Gon.
When he gets Qui-Gon, when Darth Maul is able to get the upper hand on Qui-Gon, we get like, oh my god, a Jedi just got killed.
Yes. It is not just like a Jedi got killed. The guy that's basically been moving the plot along the entire movie.
The main character of the movie just got killed. Oh my god, what's gonna happen? Oh my god. Like, yeah, we know Obi-Wan, we know he's capable. Qui-Gon thinks he's capable, but he's still just a student. If Qui-Gon couldn't beat him, can Obi-Wan beat him?
And there's also a thing where it's like we're thinking in our head where it's like, well, Obi-Wan is like really like frail and kind of like beat up when in the original trilogy. I'm like, is it a thing where he gets like rocked in this and then he just barely survives? Right? Is that a thing that's going on?
Yeah, like
that wasn't my thought. I was like, come on, Obi-Wan, let's kick some ass.
Yeah, I was like, let's go, Obi-Wan. Come on, you can do this. I believe in you. I believe in you, Obi-Wan.
And then, they fight.
The fight.
Da-da-da.
Silent. It is
in my head, I'm going.
This one for
my head is still doing
this one for sure. I know is completely silent, and
it's perfect.
The duel, the 2-on-1, amazing fight, amazing choreography. Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul 1-on-1. Dude, they are going blow for blow. There's like someone I remember seeing like there's like a recent like Anakin versus Ahsoka. Oh my god, that was such a really good duel. Oh my god, the choreography was so good. It's like they are moving so slow. I'm not feeling any like force in their swings whatsoever. The fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, dude, they are going hard.
It's aggressive.
They're swinging
angry.
so fast at each other.
Here's the thing: you should watch the featurettes because there's a whole thing called Duels of the Fate where they go over doing that. And Ewan McGregor, right? I think Ray Park is Darth Maul.
Yeah.
They literally rehearsed that for like 8 months leading up to it, just so they can go as fast and hard as possible.
Dude, it carries. Like, it is so good. Like, even like the sound design that they chose, like for the lightsaber strikes.
It didn't help because Ewan McGregor destroyed every sound take they did.
Because he was doing it when they were doing their...
He literally was doing the...
I don't care. It was awesome.
And he needed that to get the performance.
Yes.
Someone said on set, after one of the big fights, I don't know if it was this one or another one, he was in the corner, he's like, fuck yeah, I'm in Star Wars. And he's just playing with his lightsaber. I'm like, yes, this is the energy that we need in Star Wars.
Ewan McGregor, that's my homie right there.
This is why he carried the
prequels.
Because he was probably the only person that's actually going to be there.
Oh my god. But it's so good. Again, I'll talk a lot of shit.
I wish it was a little longer. I wish that last little fight was a little longer.
Yeah.
I remember it being longer, but it's actually pretty short.
Again, I can talk a lot of shit about Phantom Menace on like structural shit and like whatever. The action sequence hold. Like there's like that's not something I can like level against the movie.
No punches pulled. And even like I think there might have been like a few like errors because there's some like I remember there's that one part where Obi-Wan's gonna go in but Qui-Gon cuts him off. I don't know for sure if that was supposed to be how it went. If it is, that speaks a lot to the characters. Obi-Wan's kind of hesitating, Qui-Gon isn't. And
the difference between a Jedi Knight and a padawan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's kind of scared, but Qui-Gon he's like nope, like, I'm gonna do this. Where was I going with that?
It's really cool.
It was I don't know. Like
Obi-Wan manages to defeat Darth Maul.
Through Darth Maul's hubris, Obi-Wan is able to come up on top. Darth Maul gets the upper hand on Obi-Wan, kicks him off into the pit. Because there's always a bottomless pit.
Of course, it's Star Wars.
Yep.
There's always a bottomless pit. And kicks his lightsaber in. Oh, darn, I really thought he could do it. It's looking really bad for our heroes. Darth Maul's gloating. He's like just taunting him, trying to knock him off by throwing sparks into his eyes. I don't think from the angle Obi-Wan is at, he can actually see Qui-Gon's lightsaber.
Nope.
But I'm pretty sure he knows it's there. He saw him drop it. So he knows it's there. And he has to feel that it's there. He has to pull it towards him.
He has to use the Force.
He has to use the Force, Obi-Wan. He pulls himself up, jumps over Darth Maul, who's like, what the fuck?
He's like, you can do that?
Not only that, like he's coming out of off of his high. He's like, oh yeah, I just killed a Jedi Knight and a stupid padawan. I just like did everything my master asked. I'm gonna get blown after this. This is gonna be
I'm gonna
awesome.
get so much Gungan pussy,
so
my
much
lord.
Gungan pussy after this. Oh my god, he jumped over me. Oh my god, he has a lightsaber, and now he's cut in half and he falls into the pit.
A little anticlimactic for Darth Maul.
You see blood.
Yeah.
There's a blood
He
mist.
deserved it.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
A little anticlimactic. You know, we could have seen. Well, technically, we do see more of him.
You
later.
wanted 15 minutes more of fighting.
I wanted at least a minute more of him versus Obi-Wan. It was so good. They were going so good. It was awesome. He gets kicked into the pit, and so that is the end of Darth Maul, or was it?
Dun dun dun.
I don't know. Well, I don't know how I feel about them bringing Darth Maul back.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was a little dumb. Takes away from Obi-Wan's victory.
Where
in
did
that
they bring him
moment.
back? Was it the Clone Wars?
They bring him back in
the cartoon, right?
the cartoons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And then like everything that came else after.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel. Like I think it's cool. Yeah, they brought back a really cool character and they did a really good job with him. But I'm also like, Obi-Wan killed his ass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recognize that.
Yeah, Obi-Wan killed his ass.
But we get to the end of the
We
movie.
get to the end of the movie.
A parallel to A New Hope. Everyone's getting coronated.
Yeah, the
We're getting
coronated,
the
they get the
funeral
prizes.
for.
Look, we have the funeral for Qui-Gon,
Yeah.
and we have Mace Windu talking about the Sith, and he goes, well,
Yeah.
there's never one, there's always
There's
two.
always two.
And
Sequel
there's
bait.
there's
but
always
we're
a
gonna get the
student.
sequel.
They
and a
pan right
master.
to Palpatine.
If you didn't get it by this point, they're calling him out.
Yeah.
Almost broke the camera, how hard they panned to Palpatine.
It was so, yeah, and like the angle they chose too is like the perfect like. Wait a minute, his nose is like the exact same shape. Oh my god. No
you
way.
can see the sweat beading on his forehead, like, oh shit, they're gonna figure me out.
They're talking about me. They're talking about
The camera's
me.
looking right at me.
Oh no.
Shit, Lucas, other way.
Anakin's gonna, Obi-Wan and Yoda have that talk.
Anakin's gonna be a
Anakin's
full-fledged
gonna
Jedi.
he's gonna be a Padawan. You know, it's his destiny. He made a promise to Qui-Gon.
And
I
Yoda's
cried.
Same.
I cried during that bit where he's like, "Are you okay, man?" "Yes, master." Like, I don't care how much of a sissy he sounds. I'd cry like a bitch too.
It's
I
strong.
did cry like a bitch.
You're like,
during
I
that.
did this morning.
I teared up this morning. I didn't cry, but I teared up. I was like, oh my god, it gets me. I cried. I teared up when freaking Anakin was talking to his mom.
You were tearing up when describing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love my mom.
So we get to the end of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and now
It's a party.
it's a party. We have discussed The Phantom Menace at length. The issues brought forward for The Phantom Menace. The script performances a little clunky. The humor is a little funky, and the expanded lore feels weird compared to the original trilogy. Are those founded or unfounded criticisms?
The writing, everyone tells me the writing is bad. Yeah, I could say the dialogue options could be better. A kid is gonna say yippee. I don't care what universe you're from. That's fine. Jar Jar, I think Jar Jar is very silly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did what he was supposed to do, because as a kid, I thought he was hilarious. Did I think he was the best part of the movie? No. But there's some people that I remember talking to when I was still like kid talking. Whenever I would talk about that movie, they would say Jar Jar was their favorite part.
He worked for what he was meant for.
Yeah, he did what he was supposed to do, and that's fine. I as an adult watching it, I think, okay, yeah, I can see how that could be silly. I still think it's a little funny. The speech impediment thing, whatever. It's just the dialect. Who cares? There's more subtle humor I get now. Like the negotiations were short.
There's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish. The negotiations never happened. I was like, I think that stuff's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's funny because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be funny, not because I just bad writing.
Yeah. The Metachlorians.
Okay, the Metachlorians.
We kind of skipped over that because
They-
we're running out of time, but that is
they-
an issue people have, is
did-
changing the lore of the Jedi in Star Wars.
I'm like, okay, there are these little microorganisms that exist in Star Wars that if you have more of them, you're more in tune with the Force. Okay. Later on, they do add Force-sensitive animals to the thingy, but that's afterwards. I guess I can't really use that to defend it here. But maybe it was the groundswork for him to do that later on. He knew he was going to do sequels.
It's a thing where I think the issue isn't that it's the metachlorians. It's like explaining how the Force works is the issue. It's like explaining the Joyce runes, the joke. It's like the Force should have just been this mystical thing that's never really explored. It's just, well, the Force. What is the Force? We don't even truly understand it, but it's something that surrounds us. And
scientists exist. So normally when you have like a mystical things like this, it's usually in a high fantasy setting, not a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, let's be honest. Like Star Wars is about space wizards. Like it's not hard sci-fi.
Okay, but in so scientists exist in this universe. There is, they have spaceships and shit. People know things. There's biology. People know about this. There's medicine. There's bacta tanks. You can put someone in a tank of water and they heal. These guys that can do the Force, they're pretty crazy. Let's like cut one open and see like what's going on in there.
Cut open a Jedi Knight.
Yeah, and it gives some tangibility to the mysticism. Okay.
That comes down to preference, because I prefer the mysticism to stay mystic. It'd be so much more interesting if the scientists are like, we have studied the Jedi for years and bodies, and we cannot explain it.
Was there was Scientology a thing at this time?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's the metachlorians, the Thetans. I think that's a thing that people make fun of, where it's like, you need to get your Thetan levels up just so you can use the Force. Like, that's a joke people make.
Yeah.
Don't sue me, Scientology. I'm just drawing a parallel.
Okay.
But it is just it's a thing where making the Jedi Order more concrete and making the Force more concrete, I think that's something that's the biggest issue with the movie.
It does take away from the mysticism. I admit that. Like, I was perfectly fine with metachlorians not being a thing. In fact, sometimes I forget that they are a thing.
As most do.
Yeah, which I don't do that on purpose. It's inconsequential to me. It's like it was like, yeah, they spent a lot of time with it, but it's not really brought up too much afterwards, I think. Like, it was just like, okay, well, we need an explanation for people who need something tangible in order to for their suspension of disbelief. They need something there. Like, okay, well, metachlorian thing. Okay, there we go. It's there. We'll talk about it enough to where, hopefully it'll hold water for the people who actually care about this. Because again, I don't care about it. It doesn't matter to me. And
the movie's still entertaining to you.
Yeah, it's still like, I don't think it takes anything away from Star Wars. Yeah, it adds more. In actuality, it does add more to Star Wars. Did it need to be there? No, it didn't need to be there, but it's there now, and it doesn't make it inherently a bad thing. Like, some of my mysticism of this like hyperspace space wizards shooting lightning from their fingertips. We can move faster than the speed of light, by the way, and not hit asteroids. Well, space is big. They're not going to hit asteroids. But there is so much more to it than just that. Like,
you're just like, if metachlorians is the thing that like ruined Star Wars for you, you probably weren't that invested in the movie, in the lore anyway.
Yeah, or you were too invested in it. Like, this thing mattered a little too much to you that they changed a thing, made it more tangible, and it ruined the fantasy for you. There's still a lot more fantastical things going on, like I guess
how they move so fast from one frame to another.
At the root of it, the midichlorians change. Like, you're going too deep, bro. Like, it's like, yeah, if you keep digging, eventually you're gonna draw a correlation somewhere. But at a surface level, it doesn't change anything.
So I guess that comes down to the final question of the Phantom Menace. Is this a good movie? Is it a good Star Wars movie?
Yes, it's an amazing Star Wars movie. Like,
you have heard the discussion, the arguments
I was there
from the defendant and the prosecution. Is Phantom Menace, all things considered, the high bar it makes for the action in the series? I give you that completely. The clunky dialogue that is apparent, the Jar Jar of it all. Do you think Phantom Menace holds up as a good Star Wars film?
It's a good Star Wars movie.
Not a bad Star Wars movie.
Not a bad one.
We've gotten worse.
We've had worse. I think it also helps that we grew up with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it brand new. We got to live the hype. So can't really take that away from us. It was a lot of memories.
It's unfortunate, but that's the thing about rose-tinted glasses. It's like
Hard to take them off.
Well, no, like even then, like there's some things I go back to. I'm just like, oh wow, that was actually really bad. I can't believe I enjoyed that as a kid. I watched Shark Boy and Lava Girl like a year ago, and I was like, oh, that's bad. Oh my god, I used to watch this every day. Oh
that was a vibe movie. That was a vibe.
But I don't get that when I watch Phantom Menace. I don't feel that in the slightest. I don't get that. I don't get the cringe. Like I watched Shark Boy and I cringed a lot. I was like, oh my god, this is awful. But I don't get that with Phantom Menace.
When you put it like that, yeah, there's movies I watched as a kid that I were like, I can't believe I like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, I will say, I'm like, there's good filmmaking in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue just comes down to like the parts of it that are good, like the action beats that are like well made, well composed, well structured, good. The parts that I dislike of it are far more like the dull bits, the Senate stuff. My issue with it is I'm like, man, this feels like underwritten in sections, and I have like issues with that. But I'm like, no, this is not the worst Star Wars movie. It's not it's most not boring. It's not the ones that's the most offensive by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. It's almost like a thing where over time I'm like, this movie has actually kind of gotten like more like I've evened out on this movie far more than any other Star Wars movie. I don't hate it. I don't love it as much as you do.
No,
but I'm like,
anyone loves this movie as much as I do.
But I'm like, I can vibe with this a lot better than before we started this conversation.
Okay. Then I guess I did something right.
Well, coming into this, I was like, this is a fucking 1 out of 5 movie. This movie's kind of dog shit, and now I'm like,
you did not.
I did not have high hopes coming into this.
He was
Afterwards,
complaining
I'm like,
a lot in the car.
Oh my god.
After this, I'm like, this is like 3 out of 5. It's not awful. I've seen way worse movies than this, and honestly, it's fucking well made. Even at the worst of it, it's a well made film.
You have a history with it. It made you happy as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking if George Lucas could have got more funding for it and kept creative control, he could put all those Gungans in rubber suits.
Well, no, he wanted them CG'd.
Oh, he did want to CG?
He 100% wanted them CG. Also, if we're talking about last thing, and then we'll like wrap up, the budget for this movie, out of pocket for George Lucas, was $115 million. Out of pocket. He was just like, I got this, write a check, let's get this made. Yay. This movie made $1.027 billion at the box office. It was the highest grossing film of 1999.
Mm-hmm.
It was the second highest grossing film of all time because Titanic came out like 2 years before, and can't beat Titanic. James Cameron ain't about that life.
I hate you, James Cameron. You made Blue People, and like
he also made Terminator. All right,
Blue People. He's famous for the Blue People now, and that's his worst movie. Those are his worst movies. I'll die on that hill.
I've never watched Avatar, so
don't.
Oh, I don't want to.
We will bring you back in to put we'll do a James Cameron month. No, James Cameron on trial.
I don't want to watch Avatar or Avatar 2.
You get to watch Terminator 2.
I'd rather watch Terminator.
Okay, but the Phantom Menace, wrapping up. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I've said everything I would say about it. I did. There was a few things I did want to say, but we covered everything. We'd be here for another hour if I went over everything.
We'll talk about it at lunch.
Yeah, we'll talk about it at lunch. Oh my god. But no, Phantom Menace it's incredible. I'd say try watching it without being so hypercritical over everything. And you're gonna leave. You're gonna have a good time.
Just go in, relax, and have a fun time.
Yeah, if you think the dialogue is silly, then you can chuckle at the dialogue. Because some of Padme's lines deliveries are a little weak. I don't like. Why does she talk like a robot?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whether it's like a character thing or maybe was she an experienced actor at the time?
Who, Natalie Portman?
Yeah,
she had acted and been nominated for Oscars at this point. Keira Knightley, I think, is also the one who's in the makeup most of the time. And Keira Knightley, I mean, what is it, 2 years after this, she's in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Her parents tried talking her out of taking this role.
Yeah.
Keira Knightley?
Mm-hmm.
Also, when they're in
she did fine.
there's also a thing when they're in the makeup, like you could not tell them apart.
No.
Like
Well,
if
that's the point.
Well, here's the thing. Not even like in the costume. Like Keira Knightley's mother was like walked on set and she was like, I legit almost took Natalie Portman home because I thought that was my daughter, just because she wore like a little eyeliner, and she's like, I can't tell them apart. It's funny, but
That's
it works
the point.
perfect for the movie.
That's
yeah.
the point. You're not supposed to tell the difference between them.
But yeah, so the Phantom Menace, yeah, super fun. I think you're right. If you just go in and just look for a nice, entertaining movie, it'll work. And I think it does set up a different Anakin than what we get at the end, and that's the point of an arc kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the Phantom Menace, all in all, is pretty good. It's better than I remembered it being.
I agree. Good movie.
When was the last time you saw it? High school?
Fucking yeah, high school or like early college.
Early college.
Yeah, so I mean, it's better than what I remembered.
Last time I saw it was 2020. I did the machete cut for Star Wars because Max had never seen all the Star Wars movies. Apparently,
What?
My
Wow.
brother Max had never seen all of them. It's like, bro, we're watching all of them. We're gonna do the machete cut.
And the machete cut is the superior way to watch it
It's
now.
a superior way to watch it. And he was so blown away. He had his girlfriend at the time watch it machete cut.
All right, but with all that said, we actually have to get out of here. We're
Yeah.
running out of time. So,
All right.
and if you wanted to hear what we're going to do next week, what are we doing?
Next week, we're talking about The Force Awakens.
We are
Good luck, Thomas.
Oh, no. He's
That-
not here
Oh,
yet.
never mind.
Yeah, no, we are skipping all the way to the Disney ones because we need movies for people to defend, and that's the one people wanted us to defend.
So we will be having a new guest next week. Join us for The Force Awakens. But if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, where you can watch lovely slideshow versions of this podcast, and you can like, comment, and subscribe there. But if you wanted to follow us on social media, you can go to
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post daily stories, upcoming episodes, and random adventures we go on.
But Matt, would you like to plug anything before we go?
All I got to
Your
plug.
Phantom Menace fanfic, maybe?
No.
Your
Shut
Discord.
up. Don't talk about that. Not yet. You can. Well, I guess I'd like to plug in the Warlords podcast that we do with our friend Greg, where we talk about Warhammer and Sigmar stuff. Like that's about it.
Yep, the Warlords podcast.
It's really hard to spell, but you'll find it eventually.
It's a very good drinking and talking podcast.
Yep.
But with that,
May the Force be with you.
and may it be with you. Dun, 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 dun. All right.
Dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun.
dun.
Have a good week, everybody.